So something I've been thinking about lately is, wouldn't it be fun to review a scene from cinema history that I've seen many, many times that I feel really works, where the emotion is right where you want it. It demonstrates excellence in editing, cinematography, acting, everything that you would want in a scene. And we could do a few of these. I think that'd be kind of fun, like a little, little course on scenes that work. So this one is from Return of the King. You probably know it as The Ride of the Rohirrim, or The Arrival of the Rohirrim, or Pelennor Fields. So up to this point, we've watched something like 7 hours of movie. So we know all of the players very, very well. But what matters in this scene is that Minas Tirith, this sort of city that's built like a castle, basically, mile-high city that's built vertically, has been overrun by Sauron's forces, by the evil forces. Gandalf has done everything he can to fight them off as their general. But they just breached the city. So that means they're going to reach the children. It's over. They actually just lost the battle. Okay, so then they cut to Sloth here from the Goonies. So he's been set up for the past hour as the orc general. So he's not he doesn't have any special powers per se, but he's the most vocal. We're going to need a villain. We're going to need to be able to see through the orc perspective. You still need to personalize. Everything needs to be personalized, which is going to be the theme through this. Now, we're watching the extended version, The Witch King of Angmar, Sauron's second in command. I don't personally think that this adds a lot to the story. It's an extended scene, so I understand why they cut it. But I suppose it's nice to see, not only has the city been overrun, but actually your guy, Gandalf. They even set this staff that gets destroyed right here. That was set up in the last movie as this really important, or even an hour prior, and this guy just blows it away. So all is lost. Now, normally, an all is lost moment would come at the end of the second act. So if you think of most movies in terms of 3-act structure, you have the first act, which establishes the world. End of first act, there's some kind of inciting incident, or there's something that changes the status quo for the characters, that launches them into action. And then they have kind of an all is lost moment right before the third act, and then they rally and they overcome the issue, by the end of the movie, or they don't, or whatever. It lands as it will. But normally there's kind of this re-rally thing that happens. And this is in the middle of the movie. There's going to be more moments. There's so many layers to the story. There's so many characters that they actually have these kind of micro 3 acts throughout the film. They really want you to feel that. And then you hear the horn. And the horn was set up in the horn of Helm Hammerhand and the horns that go before the horse riders. So then these angels show up in the middle of hell. These angels on horseback. And you get a sense for how many of them there are. But as the shots tick on, you're going to actually get to, it's a serious amount of horses. It's the very cavalry that's required to turn the tides of a battle that's been lost. King Theoden is the main character of this scene. We've never been given information about this person that would make us not want to root for him or make us feel like he's incompetent or anything like that, but he has made mistakes. He led his people to a bad fortress in the second movie when, they really had no chance but to fight, but instead he kind of cornered them and then fought. So he's made some bad calls. He also has no heir. At the beginning of the last movie, his son died. Most of all, the most important thing going on here is that the two kingdoms of men, Rohan and Gondor, have not been allied for a very, very long time. Even after what they went through in the last movie, Rohan, King Theoden, says, why should I come to their aid? They didn't come to mine. There's a very big scene earlier that shows the lighting of the beacons. And there's even this triumphant moment where he says, Gondor calls for aid, Rohan will answer. So he's already made the decision, I'm going to go. And I'm going to sacrifice my people for this cause. But I think he's still, he's not, he now has to commit to his own decision here. So he looks out, what have I brought my people to? Am I about to die? Spoilers, yeah, he is actually about to die. He dies in this battle. And I think the filmmakers wanted to show that he kind of knew that. And I mentioned earlier, they show up to hell itself. And if you didn't believe us, look at this image right here. This city on fire, this grand city on fire with just an uncountable number of evil forces. Now, Éowyn and Merry have hidden in the ranks to join their people. I mean, in Merry's case, it's not even their people. He's a hobbit. But he wants to join this fight. And it's going to be revealed, they're close to the front lines, which I think was probably a visual decision so that she sort of had to, she could remind the audience that she has to hide her face. Otherwise, probably the better decision would have been to hide more in the crowd. But she's horrified and he's horrified. That's the first piece of information we receive by cutting to them. And this is the thing I want you to pay the most attention to and why I think this scene works so well. The filmmakers never stop attending to the emotions of the characters. Every action has a reaction, quite literally a human reaction. You see something, you see somebody react to it. If you're wondering, hey, how does so-and-so feel about this? They answer that question. And whether it's through the performance, because the performances are really nice here and well nuanced, whether it's through the visuals, the editing, I think most of all, because choosing what images to match, like, I think I'd like to see Mary respond to that wide shot, or I want to go from Mary to Eowyn. Those are the things that maybe you envision when you write this stuff, but really those are all post-production decisions. So you really are writing the scene in post-production. It's the thing that matters the most. If you're ever making a movie and you say, I have to tell the audience how to feel, yeah, you want to elicit emotions in the audience, but the way you do that is by making them feel what the characters are feeling. And so attend to the characters and what they're feeling more than anything else. Never forget what your characters are feeling. And by the way, I don't care if we're talking about a dialogue scene. I don't care if we're talking about an action sequence. What are the characters feeling? What are the characters feeling? It's what you're going to remember when you stop watching the movie. And when you're watching it, you're going to inevitably think about times that you've been up against something insurmountable, or the time that you had a relationship problem, or, all of the empathetic responses are going to come from that. Pikes in front, marchers behind, meaning we will stab you if you run here, or we will shoot you. Theoden kind of ignores his own fear and starts saying, all right, guys, we're doing this. I'm doing this. We're doing this. Fear no darkness. So she has to see. And you even get a little bit of a POV shot. And by this point, Theoden is probably not thinking about individuals in his family. He's thinking about the mission. I think in his own mind, he's said goodbye to his family. A red day and the sun rises. And that's the first time you actually get a real sense of how many forces are we talking about here. The pikes drop. Yep, okay, the opposing army, they're convicted. The good guys are convicted. I just want to remind you, you don't have to do the scene like this. You could just hear the horn, and then Gandalf looks out, and they're charging.
Horns, 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 o'er the fields of Pelennor they echoed from the distance. Theoden and the rescuing armies of Rohan had come at last.
You don't have to milk it for all the drama, but it makes all the difference in the whole movie. It's what makes you leave the movie going, I had a life-changing experience watching that. No matter what happens, hold on to me, I'll look after you. So we're in this together. And then they could have cut, but see, Mary looked off camera. That just kind of orients the viewer. If he looks to camera right and then sees Theoden blessing the pikes. I love the touch of Theoden blessing the pikes. Yeah, ride for ruin in the world's ending. We're going to die. And then literally screaming death. And I love that Eowyn swallows in horror, like I'm accepting her own fate, basically. Did I make the right decision to come here to die? Because about a shot or two later, she's all turned. By the time he yells death 3 times, Mary and Eowyn scream it as well. And then you get that beautiful Howard Shore music. One final shot of everybody. For Theolingus. You don't have to have the horns, but every horn blows. Why? Why not just one horn? Why many horns? Well, there's a practical reason. It's to carry the sound for the entire army. But really, I think it's about unity. Everybody believes in what we're doing. Theoden is our leader. What is a leader? A leader is somebody we follow. Let's follow this guy. And then they could start charging. Again, there's a practical reason not to. You don't want to trample each other. But I love that they trot out like we're going to move as one. Cut to the characters again. What are the characters feeling? Little Mary, cut out, and you see everybody. And then where does your eye go in this shot? It goes straight to Theoden's horse, I think. Theoden being the apex for the entire army. So he kind of is. He represents this entire effort. And then you just, the spectacle here. Just can't believe what you're looking at. And of course, and by this point, this Rohan theme, this arena is so well established. It's you know, and the horse culture and the lore, it's all it's just infused with meaning. That's everything you're watching makes sense to you. I mean, look at that shot. 2003. A few of them go down because we're not going to lie to you and say that they're all going to survive. You know, you could compare this to Avengers Endgame when all of the Avengers show up, they come back to life, and spoilers. That's the all is lost and they all come back in the third act moment. You know, I don't think that you have the same sense of like, no, they're really, this is their last stand. And there's a shot coming up of Éomer, you know, the king's nephew, the head of the Rohirrim, where he's just like fierce. I mean, look at that shot. It's like ants. Yeah, he's just grabbing somebody else's pike. You know, he is just done with evil. And he's not even, you know, he's a very virtuous character, but he's not like, you know, Christ himself or something. But he is done with evil, and just getting to see his aggression is wonderful. And then, you know, they don't cut away. They don't say, and then of course they win. You actually get to see orcs get trampled, which is very satisfying by this point. Look at Éomer yet again. Another breathtaking shot. I remember seeing that in the theater and just being like, what am I looking at? And that was after seeing the fourth Aerlingus scene from Two Towers, which if you enjoyed this, we can do that scene next. This is kind of the ultimate version of the same sort of scene, but you need that scene to get to this scene, I think. What else in the scene did you respond to that I didn't talk to? Would you like to see me do more of these? It's really fun for me to talk about filmmaking. I hope you enjoyed it.